Hello, good afternoon class. How are you doing today? Hope that you are all fine and safe. Today we will continue our lessons in Unit 2, page 4 through 6. Our topic for today is peacekeeping. Peacekeeping. So, can you tell me anything about peacekeeping? What does the word peacekeeping means? If you say, well, I have listed down here 2 words for you to write down in your notebook. So please write this word down in your notebook and we will go over the definitions in a minute. As I wrote down here, these are words to know, meaning these are really important words for you. Not just for your everyday life, but also for your upcoming final, because these words will be in your final, so write them down. Okay, now back to our topic, peacekeeping. The word peace, what does peace mean? Peace have 2 different or 3 different meanings depending on its context. But our context today is peacekeeping. So peace, does it mean like, for example, no war, friendly, be nice to each other? And please write me more example of what the word peace means to me. But in your own words, what does peace mean? So for example, if we say we have a peaceful classroom when we are studying our lessons, the word peaceful classroom, what does that mean? Can you explain something on our Telegram post? We have a peaceful classroom today. If you said our classrooms is nice, there is no arguing, no bickerings, or no fighting in the classroom, you are correct. Peace means all of that. No war, we are all friendly, and we are all nice to each other, right? Okay, now on to our word, peacekeeping, which is our subject. So if you know peace means no war, and we all have to be nice to each other, a peacekeeping is ones that regulate or ones that oversee the peace, right? The one that have to keep from our classroom from fighting each other, from bickering and from yelling at each other, right? So the peacekeeper is really important, not just for the classroom, but for our planet. This is what we're going to talk about in our studies today. So please take out your book and turn to page 4 for me. Have my mark. On page 4, it's entitled Peacekeeping. And this is about peacekeeping in this world. So there's an organization in this world that help keep the peace within this world. So if there is fighting between one country and another country, one nation or one union or one organization will come in and try to bring together peace before a war starts. And this is what we will talk about today, peacekeepings. Okay, now that we have understand our words to know, we will go into our subjects. My first question to you is, what are the roles of a peacekeeper? Without actually looking at your text now, can you explain to me the role of a peacekeeper? Again, we will use our example like we use in the classroom. If our classroom is arguing about something, for example, the girls want to argue about, they want to sit on this side, and the boys want to talk about or argue about sitting on that side too. So for the role as a peacekeeper, how will that person try to keep peace between the girls and the boys? How will the peacekeeper approach that situation? Will he or she go talk to the boys and girls to come up with a resolution, meaning come up with a plan to make them not argue? So yes, that is the role of a peacekeeper. A peacekeeper is one person or one group of persons that come in and talk to the individuals that are having conflicts, that are arguing, and try to come up with a solution, meaning coming up with an answer on how they can be friendly again, how they would not cause no war, and how to be nice to each other. So that is the role of a peacekeeper. Okay, now we have understand that, I'm going to read to you the first paragraph on page 4. And if you want, you can also read with me. Because page 4 the first paragraph will entail our main studies. So the first paragraph is really important to our reading. Are you ready to begin? The first paragraph, United Nations. In 1945, at the end of the Second World War, an international organization called the United Nations was created. Some of the United Nations goals include helping to mediate conflict between countries, preventing wars, maintaining peace, and protecting innocent life. Okay, so we have learned here, after the end of World War II, remember we studied about World War II maybe about 2 or 3 months ago? So after the end of World War II, an organization was formed called the United Nations. Maybe you have seen the United Nations before or heard about it before. Well, now is your chance to learn about the United Nations. So my second question is, after World War II, what organization was formed to help keep peace in or on this planet? We have learned that it is the United Nations. And also on the first paragraph, it will tell you some roles of the United Nations, and why the roles are important in our country today or in our world today. And I also have some descriptions of the United Nations here. I will post this up on our Telegram post so you will have a better viewing. I will read the description of what this says on this paper right now to you. The United Nations is an intergovernmental organization that aims to maintain international peace and security, develop friendly relationships amongst nations, achieve in international cooperations, and be a center for harmonizing the actions of nations. That means keeping peace, no war, and friendly and nice between all nations. So the United Nations role is to keep everybody together as a group and as a friendly group where there is no war. And this is the flag of the United Nations. Have you ever seen this flag in Cambodia? Is there a United Nations post here in Cambodia? If you say yes, you are correct, because there are some United Nations assembly here in Cambodia which helps to maintain the peace and the stability here in Cambodia. Remember, during the war times, or even right now for national elections, or for preventing certain diseases and stuff that are happening around the world right now, the United Nations also play a big part in that. And my third question to you is, I want you to answer me this question. This will be your bonus questions. How many nations are there in the United Nations? So how many countries are there in the United Nations? How many countries are a part of it? You can answer me this question before the end of our second video to get to your bonus points. I will give you 3 extra points. You can answer me this correctly and before the second video. Okay, class, on our reading in page 4, it will talk about East Timor and how Australia, United Nations troops helped East Timor during its revolution in 1999. If you ask me, where is East Timor at? I have a map here that I will show you or post up in our Telegram post where East Timor is at. As you can see here, this is Australia, and this is where Cambodia, Thailand, and Laos is at. East Timor is a country or an island country right here above Australia. And in 1999, according to the text, East Timor went through a revolution where they create their own independence. And this revolution causes havocs and wars in the countries. And that is when the United Nations came into the country and solving the peace there in that country. And you will learn how the UN, especially the Australian United Nations troop, came in and helped East Timor. Again, I will give you more articles about East Timor during our second video. But for your first task today, I want you to read the article on page 4, and after reading a brief description about East Timor and how the UN came and helped East Timor with their independence. And you can answer your questions on page 5. This is your first task. Your first task will be answering all the questions on page 5. Again, I will upload this page onto your Telegram post so you will know. I will give you 30 minutes to complete this task. If you have any questions or any more information you need, just let me know and I will guide you through all the information about the UN and their roles as a peacekeeper in East Timor. Okay, class? In about 30 minutes, I will see you in our second video. Goodbye. Hello, welcome back to our second video for this afternoon. On our second video, we will go over more of East Timor. And I will review more on our third video about our lesson today. So in this video, I will go straight into the task. On our second video, I want you to answer all the questions on page 6, which is about peacekeeping in East Timor. On page 6, I want you to write a letter or a brief explanation about if you were living during East Timor at that time. What conditions were you going through, and what did you suffer or endure in East Timor? This is just an imagination, so you picture yourself in East Timor in 1999 during the revolution for independence. So when you were at that time, I want you to write a letter back home to your families discussing what you are going through that time. Again, there is no wrong answers here. As long as you write something about what you think it might happen to you, and that is good enough. But make sure you write it in a complete form and in a letter format, like dear mom or dear sisters or dear brothers. In East Timor right now, we are going through some events that's changing the course of East Timor country. That is just an example of what you might say how to start. Then you can go on to your topics on what you will talk about. Okay, and also I have here some articles about East Timor. Again, I will upload these articles onto our Telegram post. It is 3 pages of articles about East Timor in 1999 and how they went through the independence, how they fought for the independence. So take your time, read the article about East Timor and how they went through and how the United Nations helped East Timor to get their independence. Okay, class, for this task, I will give you 30 minutes to complete. Once you complete this task, please submit your work to my personal Telegram so I can correct and grade it for you. Remember, it is really important to read about East Timor so you can get an understanding of what the people in East Timor went through during 1999 for fighting for their independence. So you will understand how they go through it, so you can write your letters to your brothers or to your sisters or to your brothers or your family. That is part of our second task. Okay, class, you will have 40 minutes for this task. And in 40 minutes, I will see you in our last video. See you in our third video, class. Hello, class. Welcome back to our third and final video for today's lessons. In today's lesson, we studied about peacekeeping and the roles of the United Nations, how they play a really important part in keeping peace in our world today. So thank you for our discussion about the United Nations and their role in our Telegram post. Also, part of your first task have asked you many questions about the United Nations and what the United Nations do for our country. Also, through our discussion, we have discussed that Cambodia is a part of the United Nations. And for your bonus questions, how many nations are there in the United Nations? The answer is 193. There are 193 nations there in the United Nations. And for every few years, they voted on to whether to accept new nations or to let some nations go because of their regulations of the country. We also have discussed about that in our discussion. So thank you for learning about peacekeeping and the roles of the United Nations with me. If you have any more questions or concerns about United Nations and what their roles are in our country right now, we can have further discussion on our Telegram post. Also, we will discuss about this more next week. So this is just a warm-up till next week, okay, class? Okay, now for your homework. Your homework, after the video is played, let me know and I will post the homework activities or homework assignments after the video. Okay, class, again, your homework is due before we start next week's lesson. So please, it is important for you to send me all your tasks and your homework because they will be affected on your overall grades. Until we see each other again next week, be safe, stay healthy, and goodbye, class.